Yeah, I'm really honored to be with us and just to share a few thoughts on the topic that I was given, speaking up for excellence. Speaking up for excellence. Now, I feel a bit jittery because I'm standing in front of public speakers and I haven't been trained through the pathways of Toastmasters so that I can become as good. So if I falter here and there, please bear with me. I want to start off with a quote. And this was a quote that was mentioned by Aristotle. Some of us have heard of who Aristotle is, one of the Greek philosophers of the ages. And this is what he said. He said, among a man's many good possessions, a good command of speech has no equal. Let me say it again. Among a man's good possessions, a good command of speech has no equal. Now, to understand the weight of that quote, you need to understand the history of the Greeks. For you to be learned in Greek ancient times, for you to have a degree per se, or even a doctorate, or whatever it is that was conferred upon the learned then, is the way you are tested is you come and stand before a coliseum of an audience, and you'd have to give a speech. And the more compelling your speech was, the higher your grades were. So that is why a man like him meant that really people who gave a good command of speech were those that were thought of to be learned. So I want to just build off of there and share with us on how do we speak or speak up for excellence. And please forgive me, Toastmasters, most of the things I'm going to share, really I'm preaching to the choir because these are things that you've gone through so many times. But I'm glad that I have fellow Toastmasters to be in the house. Yeah. So a great speaker really speaks with three intentions in mind. And if you have somewhere to write, just write these three down. A great speaker speaks for impact. Okay? Your speech has to have a strong effect on people. Impact. Someone say impact. Impact. A great speaker speaks for interest. Someone say interest. I'm picking it up from Erastus. Feedback, right? Feedback is the breakfast for champions. There you go. Interest. Your speech has to be inspiring enough for people to be interested in you as a listener. And finally, a great speaker speaks for imprint. Someone say imprint. Imprint. Your speech has to have lasting memory to your audience. It has to be memorable. People have to be able to remember, oh my goodness, I was in that room that evening and that speech was absolutely amazing. So we talked about impact, interest, and imprint. Impact, interest, and imprint. I'm going to just share a very, very brief speech, and I want you to test it against these three eyes of a great speech. Okay? And I will title this message, The Unthinkable That We Do Because of the Power of Love. Now please ask your neighbor for me, have you ever been in love? Please, let your question carry some interest. You never know, you might fall in love tonight. Have you ever been in love? All right. Okay. No, the response was supposed to be a yes or no answer. Some of you are going into deep conversation. Understandably so. You know, you might be seated next to someone and you wanted to talk to them all night, and then this speaker has triggered the conversation. After I'm done, you can carry on. So, 10th December 1936. Britain as a nation entered a serious crisis because something unimaginable, something that had not happened in the history of Great Britain had happened. The then monarch, the sovereign, the king of Great Britain, King Edward VIII, decided to make a bold move, and that was to stand down from the crown abdicate his responsibilities as king of Britain. And he had been coronated a year in January of 1936, and in December, barely a year went by. And this man said, I can no longer be king. And these are the words, and I quote him, paraphrasing. He said, I can no longer execute the duties as your king and sovereign because you are not allowing me to have the support of the wife that I love the most. Now the King of England had fallen in love. Tell your neighbor, he had fallen in love. The challenge is, he fell in love with a non-Briton. She was not only a non-Briton, she was an American. She was not only an American, she was a socialite. Do you know who a socialite is? She was a slave queen. Yeah, thank you. She was a movie star, a slave queen, who was a divorcee. And she had divorced not once, but twice. And to the eyes of the Britons, that was an anathema, an abomination. Couldn't happen. So he decided, do I continue to rule my people at the expense of the girl that I love? Or do I give up the crown and follow my heart? And guess what he did? The unthinkable. The unthinkable. Because the power of love. Please ask your neighbor for me. Have you ever been in love? Can you walk away from all that fame, that wealth, that prestige because of a girl? And not any ordinary girl, but a divorcee, 2 times divorcee, slave queen. Love can do unimaginable things to us. But that's what happened. 17 years ago, a young man at the university in a country not far from now was walking into the lecture hall, and he glanced at a girl, and the girl left him totally discombobulated. He couldn't concentrate that day, and he decided to make acquaintance with the girl, only to find out that the girl had certain interests that this young man had interests in. And they built a friendship for 2 years at the university. And this young man made a commitment. And his commitment was, I am going to marry that girl. That's the commitment. Fast forward 2 years into their relationship. They graduated in January, and in May of that year, he married the girl. Good job. And they were young. To many, they looked stupid, because at the age at which they got married was unthinkable. He was 24 years, and the girl was 22 years. That's young, old. I'll leave it to your imagination and your judgment. And the young man who had been driven with the power of love is the young man standing right in front of you. Family was against it. You're too young, you've not made money. Do you even have a mattress, they asked. But I was in love. Tell your neighbor he was in love. And I did the unthinkable because of the power of love. And we've been married 15 years. 4 children later, I am more in love with this girl than I've ever been. She is still the most beautiful thing walking the face of this earth. I guarantee you that. 2,000 years ago, people from a certain faith believe that the God of the universe did the unthinkable. He reached to his right side, told his son that I have a mission for you. You're going to leave your opulence and your crown of glory in heaven. You're going to walk from timelessness into the womb of a woman you created. She will nurture you for 9 months. You will nurse at her breast. She will raise you, maybe spank you a few. And later you will save that woman and the whole of humanity. That is the story of a gentleman called Jesus Christ. Most of you know the story, don't you? And he walked this earth 33 and a half years, loved on people, and got a huge following. In fact, he gave them a command, 2 commands in one. You shall love your God with all your heart, soul, mind, strength, and you shall love your neighbor as you love yourself. This man, Jesus, is synonymous with the word love. But he took the God of the universe doing the unthinkable because of the power of love. In fact, the good book says, for God so loved the world that he did the unthinkable. I'm paraphrasing it. Some of you are looking at me like, no, that's not what it says. Paraphrasing. For God so loved the world that he sent his one and only Son, that whosoever lives in him should not perish, but have everlasting life. The power of love. The power of love drove a king from his throne to living without the opulence that comes with the sovereignty of Britain. The power of love drove a young man to marry at a young age. The power of love drove and compelled God. In all 3 cases, people doing the unthinkable because of the power of love. I'm done with my short speech. I want to ask you a question. Before I share just a few principles and I sit down, I want to ask you a question. Was this speech, was it interesting? Yes. Did you find interest in it? Yes. Did you lean in? Did you feel like, I want to hear more? I want to hear more. A great speech has to carry interest. Do you feel impacted by it somehow? Do you resonate with 1 or 2 facets of these stories? Has it had an effect on you? Have you felt the impact? You've done what? So a great speech has to have impact and effect on its audience. Interest, it has to be interesting and inspiring enough. Do you feel like you will remember these stories even tomorrow when you wake up? Even next year? Okay, so it has had an imprint on you. And I believe that the work of Toastmasters, a century in, I didn't even know that, is really to raise speakers to be people of value that can deliver great speeches of impact, yes, interest, imprint. And we're well on our way because we have so many leaders here that can help us do that. And we'd like to celebrate them. Can we celebrate the leaders of Toastmasters? Both those in Rwanda, I know a couple of them. I'm privileged to be friends with a couple of them. And then there are those who have come in from Nairobi and lands far and wide. You're very, very welcome to Kigali. Murakaza neza. Yeah. So I want to share just a few principles, but I'll start with the rules of golden, I'll call them the golden rules of speaking. Okay? Everything worthwhile doing, everything worthwhile, really runs by certain rules and regulations. And I'll share just 3. You could know more, but 3. The first rule of public speaking, golden rule, is be authentic. Be authentic. Be you. When Erastus, right? When Erastus came up to speak, I started to feel intimidated. The man speaks so well, he is eloquent, he is loud, he is very engaging, and here I am coming after him. And I'm like, should I change my accent a little bit? Should I? And then something at the back of my mind gave me a slap, an unconscious slap. Be yourself. It's no point of working up an accent. Now I'm saying, imagine I came up and started speaking in a language and an accent that's not my own, and Doreen would look at me and say, that is not you. Be authentic. You are unique. You are fearfully and wonderfully made. Don't ever feel like you need to be like anyone else. Some people are fast talkers. Some are slower. Some people are loud and eccentric. Some are soft and gentle. Just be comfortable in your own speech and in your own skin. Because you are unique, you're a brand. Be authentic. Be authentic. Because in your authenticity, that is how you will stand out. And that is how you will be respected. And you will have the credibility due to you because you are not trying to be like somebody else. Have you ever had speakers who try to fake it? Faking it until they? No, I don't advise that. Is it advisable in Toastmasters? It's not advisable. I knew, even before joining, I knew. It's not advisable. So be authentic. Second golden rule for public speaking. Small things are big things. Small things are big things. What might seem small to you has the potential of switching your audience off because to them it is a big thing. So do your homework. What is the audience I'm going to speak at? Which culture do they come from? What are the mannerisms? What are the cultural acceptable ways of doing things? Part of what I do is a bit of leadership training, and one day we were training this organization, the UN to be exact. And the country director of this particular agency was telling us a story of how she was posted to lead this agency in South Africa. And every time she would get up, she would be talking to her team, and this was just a reflex for her. She would point to them like this. She said, you know, as a team, we have to really work hard to make sure we deliver on the mandate of the UN. And every time she would point at them, we would switch off. And she could not understand why. Then one day one of them realized that probably this woman doesn't know what she's doing. And she came up to her and told her, look, when you point at us like that, the way you do it, in our culture, you are calling us dogs. Yeah? Poor woman had no idea. She was just responding to a reflex. So what are things that seem small to you, that to your audience might be a put off, a turn off, a switch off? Please learn your audience. If you're going to speak in public, it doesn't matter who your audience is. It could be nursery children, it could be corporates. Please learn the cues, the etiquette, the different mannerisms, ways of talking, ways of handling yourself that really appeal to a particular audience. So we said number one, golden rule number one was be authentic. Golden rule number two was be small things are small things are small things are I want you to watch me the way I'm standing right now. What does this communicate to you? I'm speaking to you with my arms crossed. Huh? Bossy? Looking down on you? Dishonoring and disrespecting. Now in my culture this might be okay. I see a gentleman seated with his arms crossed. Okay? But when I'm standing here and people are lending me their time and ear, this is a normal. Did you know that it was a normal? If you're not a Toastmasters probably know that. So you know, Doreen is like, yeah, of course, you know. That's why you need to join Toastmasters. So arms crossed, pocketing. Yeah? Some of us, we have this modest way of standing. You know, just being modest, being very humble, right? Yeah? What other mannerisms? Anyway, we know the list of them. So you need to learn, when I'm speaking to an audience, how do I carry myself? What do I speak? What language do I speak? In fact, it's taking me to golden rule number 3. So we said, golden rule number 1, be authentic. Golden rule number 2, small things are big. Okay, just because it's small to you, it doesn't mean it is to your audience. And golden rule number 3, mind your language. Please tell your neighbor, mind your language. Mind your language. Study your audience. What are you going to say? What are the acceptable words? What words in your culture might not be acceptable in another culture if you're speaking to another culture? Do the homework. Because when you're speaking, language matters. Language matters. When you're talking to children, you You cannot come and say, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, as I give this honorables, as I discharge on this auspicious, I mean, you will lose them. You will lose them. You have to go like, kitty, kitty, boo. Are you guys okay? Now imagine if I came to you and say, guys, are you guys okay? You would question whether I'm okay, right? So language matters. Language, mind your language. And in language, there are certain words that are acceptable either to a certain generation that are a little bit offensive to another generation. I can never address you as guys. Hello, guys. Distinguished Toastmasters and Toastmasters to be. Far be it from us. But if I'm talking to ripped gene youth who are full of vibe and what else? Swag. That would be an acceptable language. Mind your language. Finally, as I close, now that we know the golden rules of speaking, we're talking about speaking up with excellence. That's the title that I was given. Some of you will have an opportunity to prepare a speech. For others, it will be, they call it elevator pitch or impromptu. These rules apply, especially for those who will have an opportunity to prepare. So I want you to think of a goal. You know a goal in football? G-O-A-L. Okay? So in order to prepare a great speech, by the way, you might have gone through the different levels of Toastmasters. You're probably just going to sign up. This very simple tool will help you very quickly to prepare a speech. So goal, it's an acronym. The G for goal is goal. What is your goal? Okay? Why are you going to speak? Are you speaking to persuade people? Have you been brought in as a motivational speaker? Are you speaking to inform? Therefore, you need to do elaborate research. Are you speaking to sell? I've seen some insurers, you sell insurance. Are you speaking to entertain? Are you speaking at a funeral? Whatever the environment is, you need to know, why am I speaking to them? Because that then determines how you how you prepare to speak. So goal, someone said goal. Goal. The O in goal is occasion. Someone said occasion. Okay, what is the occasion? Is it a wedding? Is it a Toastmasters evening? That determines how you appear. Do I dress up, dress down? Do I dress up at all? What is the level of makeup? Hello, ladies. Let me not go there. What is my dress code? What content should I deliver? What tone should I use? Occasion. Someone say occasion. So your occasion determines your speech, and it determines how you prepare. So the goal determines how you prepare. The occasion determines how you prepare. The A in goal, remember it's an acronym. The A in goal is audience. Very simple. Who am I going to talk to? Are they children? Is it middle-aged people? Have I been invited in a retirement home to speak to the elderly, the senior citizens? What is my audience? What is the composition of my audience? What is their knowledge level? Have I been asked to speak in Umuganda, in my local village? Okay? What is the audience? What appeals to them? So once you know your audience, then you prepare appropriately. So we've talked about the goal. G being goal, O being occasion, A being audience, and finally the L in goal is length. Length. How much time have I been allocated? And I believe that Toastmasters teaches this well. Time. I had my brother talking about, again, the stereotype of African time. Some of us get very excited when we've been given an opportunity to talk. They've told you 10 minutes is the time allotted. 10 minutes becomes 30 minutes. And after 30 minutes, you say, anyway, I was just starting now. Let me tell you what I came through. And people begin to uncomfortably turn in their seats. I'm looking at the moderator. By the way, talking about length, I should be winding up because I've looked at MC. So the length, we need to be respectful of people's time. If you've been given 10 minutes to talk, you stretch it to 30. That's off. If you've been given 30 minutes to talk, and you only speak for 10, that is also not good. You are not a timekeeper. No. You've underutilized the time allocated to you. So as we prepare to become great speakers and to speak up for excellence, may we be goal-oriented, may we know the occasion, the audience, and the length of time, and you will do well. The rest is practice. Isn't it, Erastus? The rest is practice, and we will do well. I would like to say a very big thank you to the leadership of Toastmasters Rwanda for inviting me to share a nugget or two. I will see you at the top. Have a good one.